Face blindness, otherwise known as prosopagnosia, is the inability to recognize faces. Case studies on this disorder have been as extreme as people unable to recognize loved ones' faces, but able to identify them during phone calls. Impairment of any number of cognitive systems, from perception to memory, could result in a failure to recognize familiar faces. Here is a more in-depth view of those systems and how they are proposed to be related. The core systems that are involved are the inferior occipital gyri, superior temporal sulcus, and the lateral fusiform gyrus. These core systems primarily belong to a pathway and neural processing of vision known as the ventral stream. In order to understand this, let's first take a look at what happens in the brain when a face is viewed. Before one even begins to recognize a face, the brain must first receive information of the image it is viewing. This begins with light entering the eye and initiating action potentials in photoreceptors called rods and cones. The action potentials are then transmitted to large neurons, called ganglion cells, located in the retina and whose axons converge on the optic disc in bundles of nerve fibers that become the optic nerve. The optic nerve then extends to the optic chiasm. Fibers then travel by optic tracts to the lateral geniculate nuclei before synapsing on the primary visual cortex, where it is related to either the dorsal or ventral pathway for perception. This brings us back to the ventral pathway of perception, particularly how structures within it can be damaged or malfunctioning to produce prosopagnosia. This disruption can be acquired through brain injury, or it can be developmental, most likely due to genetics. Acquired prosopagnosia is frequently associated with damage to the core visual systems previously shown. In particular, the fusiform gyrus, which is responsible for perception of invariant aspects of faces used to identify individuals. Although people with developmental prosopagnosia have no obvious lesion in the fusiform gyrus, recent work suggests that there is a subtle alteration of the white matter connections in this region of the brain. One part of the fusiform gyrus that is especially important is the fusiform face area, a part of the human visual system that is specialized for facial recognition. A recent study has found dopamine to be linked to activity in the fusiform gyrus during facial recognition tasks. Consequently, many with developmental prosopagnosia have defective D1 receptors. Although little is known about the neurotransmitter's mechanism, the previously mentioned study has linked dopamine to the FFG by mapping dopamine receptor binding potential, then bold signal change during a facial recognition task. Dopamine binding potential was used to map dopamine availability during rest using a PET scan. From there, bold signal change was used to measure brain activity. BOLD stands for blood oxygen level dependent. It is proposed that face blindness is more common than autism, yet goes undiagnosed. This may be due to lack of knowledge and conversation on the subject until recent years, with the NHS first recognizing it in 2016. Although prosopagnosia is still relatively unknown, there are many famous examples of it. The late neuroscientist, Oliver Sacks, not only suffered from this condition but wrote a book about it titled The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. Thank you for watching. My name is Ashley Boone and this video was created for Dr. Zhang's neurobiology class. Check out #BrainyTigers on Twitter for more information on the brain. Here are the links to the information used in this video.